Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you some advice on how you can level as quickly as possible from 1 to 70 when Season 3 starts this Friday. Back in Season 1, I released a full guide with a list of tips on how you can speed your way from 1 to 70 in as little time as possible. I also released a supplementary video with a couple additional tips, and everything in those videos is still mostly true. So rather than waste your time and repeat myself, what I figured I'd do today is share with you my specific plan for exactly what I will do to speed level from 1 to 70 in Season 3. And we're talking about expected completion times of about 5.5 hours. In fact, I'm also going to share with you guys a spreadsheet that I'm going to have open on my other monitor while I'm playing, because this has detailed point by point, level for level what I'm going to do. And you can find the link to that spreadsheet in the description below. Now first off, as I explained in my previous videos, cursed chest bounties are key. And the specific ones I'm going to be hunting for are the Cursed Chapel in Act 4, and in Act 1, the Cursed Bellows, Cursed Cellar, Cursed Court, and Cursed Chamber of Bone. In one Cursed Chest bounty, you're going to kill over 100 monsters in a very short amount of time and get quest completion XP as well. Additionally, when you're killing big groups of enemies in a short amount of time, you get a lot of bonus XP from the massacres. And the reason that I picked those specific bounties is because the Act 4 Cursed Chapel has a pretty consistent spawn rate and tends to spawn pretty close to the waypoint, whereas the Act 1 Cursed Chests are just a lot easier to complete thanks to Act 1 monsters being so relatively harmless. Here's the thing though. Apart from Cursed Chest bounties, people have found that grinding out Halls of Agony level 3 in Act 1 over and over again is also a really efficient way to level. The monster density in that area is just really high, and again that leads to massacre bonuses, as well as using area attacks to quickly mow down a whole lot of enemies. And of course, because those enemies are pretty harmless to you. So running the Halls of Agony level 3 over and over again is, without question, a very efficient way to level. But what I wanted to find out was whether it was more or less efficient than doing my selection of Cursed Chest bounties. So after doing a few runs and gathering some data, I actually found that both methods turn out to be roughly the same. You see, the Cursed bounties, without a doubt, give you more XP per hour, much more XP per hour, but that's only while you're doing the bounty itself. What kills the bounties is all the time it takes to remake the games and to find the bounties. That's what allows Halls 3 to be competitive with the Cursed Chests. Halls 3 is always there. There's very little time wasted. So while you're not getting XP as quickly during a Halls run as you would while you're doing a Cursed Chest, the amount of wasted time in Cursed Chests averages them out to make them both about equally efficient at leveling up. But here's the catch. After trying both methods separately, I started trying to combine both. And what I found is that when I do both the Halls 3 runs and whatever cursed bounties spawn in the game, my leveling time actually improved by 15%. And the reason is that this captures the best of both worlds. When you do Cursed Chest bounties, some runs will just be mulligans. You remake the game and no bounties spawned, or only one bounty spawned. So you're getting a lot of downtime per Cursed Chest. But by ensuring that every remake, at the very least, has a Halls 3 run, you're limiting that downtime. So here's my methodology. Here's what I'm going to do over and over again until I hit 70. I load into the game, I go straight to Halls 3, and I start clearing Halls 3 until I hit a dead end. Or if there's actually a bounty in Halls 3, I'll complete the bounty and then keep going until I hit a dead end. Why stop at a dead end? Well, it's a waste of time to backtrack for 20 seconds, so you're better off either remaking or moving on. So once I've town portaled out of Halls 3, I then do my check for cursed bounties. I do whichever that spawn, I remake the game, and repeat. Another thing that you can do to really speed up your 1 to 70 blitz is to plan ahead of time what skills you'll be picking every level, because you'd be surprised how much time can end up being wasted agonizing over which skills to take every time you level up. If you look at my spreadsheet, you'll see that I've pre-planned at every level, every time that I want to change skill, I've already planned that out, and I've planned out even what button and what keyboard key I'm going to be using for everything. So there will be absolutely zero time spent thinking about what skills I should be using when I'm in game. You'll also notice that on top of that, I've already pre-planned every item I will craft. First off, I'm only going to be crafting weapons. That's the only thing really worth crafting. You want to maximize your damage, and your weapon is your main damage source. Now you'll notice from my spreadsheet that I'll be playing Wizard, and I'm sorry that I don't have another write-up for every other class, but part of the reason I picked Wizard is because I think it is possibly the best class to be doing these speedruns with. I've worked up a build that basically revolves around spamming Wave of Force, because I see that as the optimum skill for use in Cursed Chest bounties. The area of effect is such that it basically is able to hit all the enemies as they're coming at you. So if you're using another class, try to keep that in mind. Try to keep in mind that you are going for big area damage. And really you want the focus to be on killing trash mobs, not elites and champions. Now here's a tip that you can probably carry over to other classes as well, but you'll notice that for my wizard, I'm basically only crafting two-handed weapons. And this ties into wanting to get the biggest bang for your buck on every cast of Wave of Force, or whatever skill or spell you're going to use to deal your big area of effect damage. Wave of Force costs a ton of arcane power, so something you need to do when you're calculating whether a weapon is actually an upgrade or not is determine its effective DPS. You can't just look at what has the bigger number. And to get the effective DPS, you take the listed damage, that big DPS number up top, and you divide that by the attack speed. Only upgrade to weapons that have higher effective DPS. Faster attack speed doesn't benefit you if you have run out of resource and can't cast Wave of Force. Next up, real quick, if you're doing single player, you want to hire the Templar. He'll give you a ton of additional survivability, which means you can keep speccing as a glass cannon, plus his indispensable skill makes you recharge resource much faster, which subsequently enables you to deal a lot more damage. And leveling up the Templar is real easy, always pick the left skill. Another thing you'll note, I wrote ABCR, always be combining rubies. For the most part, crafting other gems probably won't be worth your time, but rubies really are, especially a ruby in the helm, and if you can get a solid weapon with a good enough ruby in it, that could be a sizable damage increase. Lastly on the spreadsheet, you'll see the mental checklist that I go through in order to determine within a fraction of a second whether an item is an upgrade or not. You can waste a ton of time agonizing over whether a certain piece of gear is an upgrade or not. But it gives me more toughness, is it worth it? I don't know. Look, it's real simple. The table looks complicated, it's really not. The most important things to gear towards are damage and plus XP. Killing stuff faster makes you gain XP faster. And for the most part, you'll be playing on hard difficulty, so survivability really isn't an issue. First question, does it increase my DPS? Yes or no? If yes, does it have more plus XP on it than my current gear? If yes, is it a helm or a weapon? If yes, it's a helm, don't give up a helm with a socket for a helm without a socket. Otherwise, equip it. And that's because you want to put a ruby in your helm. Helm rubies give you XP boosts. If it's a weapon, make sure you factor in socketed rubies. Remember to hold shift when you compare items to compare them without sockets. And also make sure you're comparing effective DPS. If the weapon is still an upgrade, equip it. Otherwise, if it increases your DPS, if it does have more XP than your current gear, and it is not a helm or a weapon, then equip it, no questions asked. If it increases your DPS, but it does not have more plus XP than your current gear, ask yourself, is it a helm or a weapon? If it's a helm, only equip it if it has a socket and your current helm doesn't have a socket, or if your current helm has no plus XP. If it's a weapon, make sure it's actually a DPS upgrade, and if it is, equip it. Again, weapon is your main contributor to damage, so for this one, we could afford to lose out on plus XP. If the item increases your damage, but does not have more XP than your current gear, and is not a helm or a weapon, ask yourself if it has any plus XP on it at all. If it does have more plus XP than your current gear, only equip it if it increases your damage by at least 5%. And if it doesn't, only equip it if it increases your damage by at least 10%. Now, if it does not increase your damage, ask yourself, is it a helm or a weapon? If it is a helm, and it has a socket, and your current helm does not have a socket, then go ahead and equip it, otherwise trash it. If it's a weapon that doesn't increase your damage on mouse over, make sure that you factored in socketed rubies and effective DPS into your calculations. If it still is not an upgrade, trash it. Now, if it's not a helm, not a weapon, and it does not increase your DPS, ask yourself, does it decrease my damage by less than 5%? And does it have plus XP gear? If no, trash it. If yes, ask yourself, does your current gear have plus XP on it? If your current gear does, then trash the new item. If your current gear doesn't, then equip the new item. Now I recognize this all sounded very complicated, and the table looks very intimidating. Ideally, you'd like to have this in flowchart format, but really, it is super simple once you have it in your mind. You're going to be able to do this in a second upon mouse over. Bam, is a DPS value red or green? Bam, does it have plus XP? That's basically the two checks you're going to be doing in 90% of the situations. Alright, one last tip, and this is going to be about how you proceed through Halls of Agony killing stuff. And these are tactics that you can apply as well, and in fact should apply as well, in your rifting and greater rifting. And it revolves around a tactic called pulling, otherwise known as bus driving or dragging a train. And what it really boils down to is that you don't want to waste a big area of effect power, a big usage of your resources on just a couple enemies. You always want to be maximizing the amount of damage that you do. Now the spell you cast only does X amount of damage, but it does X amount of damage to every enemy that it hits. Therefore, to maximize the amount of damage you do, what you really need to be doing is maximizing the number of enemies you're hitting at once. So when you're running through halls, you are not going to be stopping to kill a straggler here, a straggler there. You're looking to hit at minimum 3 enemies at once with an area of effect power, and preferably even more than that. It's not worth your time to stop to kill a couple enemies. So this is where pulling comes in. And for halls runs, this will mostly take the form of pulling champions and elites. You don't want to stop to kill champions and elites. You're gonna pull them along with you. Once you aggro them, or basically once they just see you, you're gonna keep walking on to the next group of enemies. And you're gonna kill that next group of enemies, but you're going to try to position yourself such that you're hitting the group of enemies and the champions as well. You don't want to just waste damage on the champions. Make sure that that damage is encompassing a pack of new whites as well as the enemies you're pulling along with you. Again, you want to be minimizing wasted time and making the most out of every second of game time, every use of resource, every attack. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what class you plan on maining for Season 3. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share it with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.